Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we're going to be continuing where we left off with our AI agent. So if you remember, we were trying to chat with our agent and we realized that it is not storing any of the conversation that we've had so far. And obviously that is something that we would like to keep because sometimes the user might give us some information that we might want to use again without having to ask the user all over again. That doesn't create a good customer experience. So let's see how we can do that. And the secret to doing that is inside the memory section over here. So to give it memory, all we have to do is just provide it this window buffer memory. We can provide other ways for memory as well, but for our simple case, we just need to provide the window buffer memory. Okay, so the input will be when a chat message is received. It is going to store the session ID. So I had mentioned that the session ID is very important, and what this will do is it will maintain a different memory for each session ID. So if multiple people are talking with us at the same time, the messages don't get mixed up. And we have a context window length, which is how many of the past interactions the model is going to store for each session. So let's give it a go. Let's take a look at what this is able to do. So I'm going to say, hi, I would like to know my order status. Okay, scroll up. So it's asking for our order number, and I'm going to say was 9123 was my order number. Okay, so in this case, it says I don't have access to live order data. However, you can check the information, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. So the main thing we wanted to test was whether or not it is able to store this data. So let me go ahead and ask that. So I'll say, what was my order number? And if it has been storing that information, it is indeed going to return that to us. And you can see that we have this return to us over here. And you can see that it utilized this window buffer memory tool in order to be able to do that. So if I just minimize this a little bit, and if we go over to window buffer memory, you can see that it inputs the customer chat message, and the output over here is that it saves the context and it stores it inside this chat history slot. So inside here we have 0, we have 1, we have 2, 3, 4, and 5. So let's take a look at what each of these conversations are. So 0 is a human message. So this was a message sent from our customer saying that the customer wants to know the order status. Now the next message was an AI message saying, sure, we can do that for you. And then there was another human message, 9123 was my order number. Then we have the AI message saying it's not able to do this. And now we're asking back for the order number. And finally, it is able to get that order number for us and present it. So that's essentially how the memory section works. Now, I also want to take a look at how we can pass in some data to the system, so to the system message, and then have people be able to query against that data. Now, there are many other ways of getting the same thing done. Obviously, we have RAG, we have PDFs that we can attach, and so on. And if you want to see how that is done, you can check out some of the other courses, the school community in the description below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to this website called dummyjson.com. And this sort of mimics the format in which you might receive data from an API. So if we click on, say, products, you can see we have a bunch of data over here. In order to be able to see it properly, we're going to pretty print. So you can see that this is a bunch of products that are inside the e-commerce store. The first one of these products being this one over here. So this goes all the way down to this point. And how I know that is because we have another ID with ID number 2 and the information for the next product below it. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at what's inside. We have the ID number, we have the title, description, the category, the price, so on and so on. So now what we're going to do is we'll just copy paste all of this. Let's do Control A, Control C, come over to our agent, and I'll say based on the data available to you below. So this is a super simple example of giving it some form of data. Obviously, we'll be seeing how we can use PDFs and so on in the future, but this is a very simple example of doing that. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to reset. So let's just reset all of this. Save real quick. It will still work if you don't hit save. It's just a habit that I like to keep so that the work I've done doesn't disappear because I go to a different window and close this one. So let me go over here and I'm going to say, hi there, what are the beauty products that you guys offer? You can see that it's working away because the number of tokens we're sending in is quite a lot. Okay, so here you can see we have the following products. We have Essence Mascara Lash Princess, which if you remember was the first product that we sent in over here. So we have this product over here. It's providing a description, the price of the product, the rating, and so on. So this is essentially how you can provide some information and have the chatbot or the agent utilize that information to answer questions. Okay, so that takes care of our basic AI agent. Hopefully you guys had fun building this. And there is one more thing that I want to show you guys before we call it a day with our AI agent. And that is that how we can swap out the AI chat model very easily so that we can test out different large language model providers. So here I'm just going to delete this connection and I'm just going to deactivate this as well. So that's deactivated. And here I'm going to add Gemini. Now, if you guys don't want to pay for another API, then you can just watch this video and you don't necessarily need to follow along. But if you guys want to try out different APIs, then feel free to follow along with me. So this is where you can add an API key for your Gemini account. And the way you do this is by coming over and searching for Google AI Studio. Click on Google AI Studio, click on Get API Key, and then you can click on Create API Key. So I'm going to select one of my projects over here. Now, if you do not have any of these projects showing up, it might mean that you haven't set up your Google Cloud. And if that is the case, just go over to Google Cloud and go over to console. And you might have to do some setting up process, and they'll most likely have a walkthrough for you to be able to do that. And then most likely you'll have the ability to create a new project if there already isn't a default project. And you can do that very easily by doing this here. So let me go back. And since we already have the API, we're just going to create a new API key. Copy that. And actually, I believe that they provide some sort of free access as well, because I believe that some of these are on the free plan. So yeah, actually, you should probably try this out yourself because I don't think this might cost anything unless you really start using the API heavily. So let me paste this in. Let me hit save. Okay. So let me just close that. Come back over here. And now I'm going to rerun our chat, reset. And again, this time I will say, what are the grocery products that you guys have in store? Okay. Let's make sure that we select the correct model here. So let me go up to parameters. And actually inside the chat model. So we don't need to do anything inside here. We just had to make sure we select the correct model. So here I'm going to select our Gemini 2.0 Flash. So there we go. Okay. All right. Now this should work for us. Let me just reset. Say, hi, what are the grocery products you guys have in stock? All right, fantastic. So here we have a list of all the grocery products that are available to us. Now, the key thing to note here is that all you had to do was change out this subnode, and you didn't have to do anything or any changes to the root node or any of the other subnodes in order to essentially swap out the LLM model. And that is the advantage of using n8n, because under the hood it is using a LangChain where it's the model that is being used is an abstraction, which means that it can very easily be switched in and out with different models. So if one of these goes down or you want to test something else out and compare the latency, you can very easily do that. So with that, thank you so much for joining here. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out the links in the description to get more resources. If you are a business owner and want to implement AI automation into your business, you can reach out to us and I'll be happy to chat with you. Thank you so much and see you in the next video.